Let me ask you a little bit about some of the conflicts around the world. The UN, of course, is making news because of a study under UN auspices that announced that a genocide is being conducted by Israel on the ground in Gaza. It's quite a staggering statement. I want to give you a chance to respond to that as Secretary General.
Well, I don't respond to that. That was a position of an independent organization. I have no competence to declare or not genocide. I mean, this is something that belongs to judicial institutions, and obviously I can only follow the orientations that I get from the Security Council or the General Assembly. But the problem is not the name, the problem is the reality. And the reality is absolutely horrendous in Gaza today. After the horrific attacks of Hamas that we strongly condemned, we had a response that is with the higher level of death and destruction that I've ever seen in my public life, and with severe obstructions, at a certain moment total obstruction of humanitarian aid, leading together with all these aspects to famine and to levels of suffering, lack of all kinds of health care, adequate water, adequate sanitation, adequate shelter, to a population that is forced to move all the time and is suffering in a way that is absolutely unimaginable. So I have no doubt to say that what's happening today in Gaza is morally, politically, and legally intolerable. And we absolutely need an immediate permanent ceasefire in Gaza, an immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and total openness in relation to humanitarian aid. As we need the respect of international law in the West Bank, with the end of this construction of settlements that are illegal under international law, we need to avoid the annexation that would make the two-state solution much more difficult to implement. And we need to recognize that the only way to have peace in the Middle East and the only way to avoid radicalization around the world is indeed to stop the war in Gaza and to move into a two-state solution. And a two-state solution that will, I believe, will have a boost with the meeting on Monday convened by Saudi Arabia and France, in which several countries will recognize the state of Palestine.
The vast majority of members of the United Nations member states agree with what you've just been saying. They want the war to be over. They want a two-state solution. They oppose the humanitarian crisis that's happening on the ground in Gaza, but it hasn't seemed to make much of a difference. Now, earlier in this conversation, you talked about middle powers that feel like they can do whatever they want.
It's the case.
Israel feels like in this environment they're one of these middle powers. It doesn't matter if all these countries tell them no.
One of these days, Israel apparently bombarded 6 countries: Gaza, Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Yemen, Qatar, and apparently Tunisia, where some drones have bombed the ships of this flotilla that is with humanitarian aid trying to go to Gaza. I mean, I think this is unique in the history of the recent decades.
Prime Minister Netanyahu said that Israel is going to have to learn to live with greater isolation, which is exactly the opposite of what the United Nations, of course, was founded to be.
He has the possibility to solve that problem, understanding the need to change course and understanding the need to with full need to recognize the right of Israel to exist and the right of Israel to exist in security, and this for me is clear, but fully recognizing this right, recognizing also that another people is in the same land and that other people also needs to have a state and live also in security.